What if the real reason your wife isn't in the mood has nothing to do with attraction, and everything to do with psychology, timing, and emotional connection? Most men believe desire just happens on its own, but science tells a very different story. For many women, desire doesn't appear out of nowhere. It builds slowly, like a dimmer switch, not an on and off button. And once you understand how that switch works, everything about intimacy starts to make sense. There was a man who loved his wife deeply, but over time something changed. The conversations became shorter, the laughter became less frequent, and the closeness they once had started to fade. Whenever he tried to initiate intimacy, it felt forced, like he was asking for something that no longer came naturally. He began to wonder if she had lost attraction for him, or if something was broken between them. But the truth was simpler, and more hopeful than he expected. He discovered that for most women, desire doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins in the mind, in emotions, in the way she feels throughout the day. Once he understood that, everything shifted. Small changes in how he showed up started to rebuild what they had lost, and the connection returned in a way that felt natural again. One of the most important things to understand is that emotional connection is often the starting point. When a woman feels heard, respected, and emotionally safe, her body responds differently. This isn't just opinion, it's backed by science. Emotional closeness reduces stress and increases bonding hormones, making intimacy feel more natural rather than forced. Many men make the mistake of trying to fix problems instead of simply listening, but sometimes what she needs is not a solution, but your presence. When she feels truly understood, something shifts inside her, and that shift matters more than any physical move. Another factor that quietly affects desire is stress. When the mind is overloaded with responsibilities, worries, or pressure, the body goes into survival mode. In that state, intimacy becomes a low priority. It's not rejection, it's biology. Men who understand this don't just ask for closeness, they help create the conditions where it can happen. Sometimes that means stepping in without being asked, making her day easier, or simply giving her space to breathe. When her mind is calmer, her body naturally becomes more open to connection. There's also something powerful about anticipation. Contrary to what movies suggest, real desire often grows before the moment even begins. A thoughtful message during the day, a genuine compliment, or a small gesture can create a sense of excitement that builds over time. Instead of expecting instant passion, you're allowing it to develop gradually. By the time you're together, she's already mentally and emotionally engaged, and that changes everything. Touch plays a role too, but not in the way many people think. Not every touch should lead to intimacy. In fact, when every gesture feels like it has an expectation attached to it, it can create pressure. And pressure shuts things down quickly. Simple, non-sexual touch, like holding hands, a warm hug, or sitting close, creates comfort and trust. It sends a message that your connection isn't based on a transaction. When touch feels safe and genuine, it removes resistance and builds a deeper bond. Confidence also matters, but it has to be the right kind. There's a big difference between confident desire and silent pressure. Expressing that you're attracted to her in a natural, relaxed way can be incredibly appealing. But when that expression turns into expectation or frustration, it has the opposite effect. Confidence means showing interest while still respecting her space and feelings. It creates attraction without making her feel obligated, and that balance is key. Over time, routine can slowly dull excitement. Life becomes predictable, and while that can feel comfortable, it can also reduce the spark. The brain responds strongly to new experiences, even small ones. Trying something different together, changing your usual routine, or simply doing something unexpected can bring back a sense of energy. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Even small changes can make the relationship feel fresh again, and that freshness often leads to renewed attraction. Appreciation is another powerful factor that is often overlooked. Everyone wants to feel valued, not just for how they look, but for who they are. Genuine appreciation strengthens emotional connection and makes a person feel seen. Instead of general compliments, being specific makes a big difference. Noticing the effort she puts into something or acknowledging something unique about her creates a deeper impact. When she feels truly appreciated, the emotional bond grows stronger, and that naturally influences physical closeness. When you step back and look at all of this together, a pattern becomes clear. These are not tricks in the traditional sense. They are ways of understanding how connection and desire actually work. Emotional closeness reduces stress. Reduced stress increases openness. Anticipation builds excitement. Safe touch creates trust. Confidence sparks attraction. New experiences add energy. Appreciation deepens the bond. Each piece supports the others. This is why forcing intimacy rarely works. It's not about pushing harder or trying to convince someone. It's about creating an environment where desire can grow on its own. When the foundation is strong, everything else follows naturally. If things haven't felt the same lately, it doesn't mean the connection is gone. It might just mean the approach needs to change. Real desire isn't something you demand, it's something you nurture. Small, consistent actions often make a bigger difference than grand gestures. Start with something simple. Pay attention to how she feels, not just what she does. Create moments of connection throughout the day, not just at the end of it. Show appreciation in ways that feel genuine. And most importantly, be patient. Real change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when the effort is consistent. In the end, the strongest relationships are not built on constant passion, but on understanding, respect, and emotional closeness. Passion grows from those things. When you focus on building the right foundation, intimacy stops feeling like a challenge and starts feeling like something that naturally belongs in your relationship. And sometimes it's the smallest shifts in behavior that lead to the biggest changes in how two people connect.